Thanks for tuning in to Travel Royally Podcast. This is your host, Hayden Moore. We are sponsored by Royal Links Golf Tours, where we create unforgettable golf vacations to the British Isles. You can find us at royallinksgolftours.com. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Travel Royally Podcast. This is episode number 5. Today we're bringing back Dale Schmitz and Jeff Bartholomew. Jeff is obviously my partner in Royal Links Golf Tours, and Jeff has been a great advocate for the company. Today we're going to be really talking about, we're going to talk about their first trips to the British Isles and what led to that. We're also going to talk about their friendship and how it has really affected Royal Links Golf Tours, and a lot of things about, if you've never been to the British Isles, if you don't know much about links golf, they're going to cover a lot of that for us. So first thing, we're going to kind of get a little background about their friendship and how they met and how that really progressed Royal Links Golf Tours. Jeff, you want to start?
Well, first, this is the best you can do. Me and Dale?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. No, Dale and I are always happy to talk about links golf. He and I are two people that are extremely in love with with links golf. He's been 9 times, and I've been more than that, but we've always gone together on these trips, and between us, or together, we've played every British Open venue that's ever been hosted. There are 14 of them, and he's got one more to go. So, Dale, we haven't talked about that, but that I do want to be with you when you play that.
Yeah, we'll
I don't want to miss
work
that.
it out. Yeah,
so
we'll do it. So how did we meet?
You've Jeff, you've probably played all of them twice through championship courses, a couple of them.
I don't know about that, but Dale and I met about 25 years ago. I was working at Steelcase. He wanted to work at Steelcase. A mutual friend of ours introduced us. And I don't know if I've told Dale this, but I remember I was in front of my house in Los Angeles when he called, and I was about to go in. And so 25 years ago, yeah, it may have been 26 years ago. Amanda was either a baby or about to be born, and Olivia was a baby or very little, and Andrew was young. So that's how long we've known each other, over 25 years. And he ended up working with me in a division within Steelcase. And then when I moved to Seattle, he was living there, and his wife took a job in a different state, and he literally left that day, and we never worked together in Seattle. So, but over the course of the years, whether he was living in Seattle or Columbus, Ohio, or Minneapolis, or now Atlanta, like me, we've gone on 9 golf trips together to the British Isles and enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, and in fact, Jeff, when you were living in LA and I was in Seattle and had just started at Steelcase, the first time I came down on business to LA, I brought my sticks because I remember we played that weekend. I stayed over and stayed at your house, and we played that weekend. And I think at that time, Amanda was an infant. I remember your kids, all 3 of them. So, but that was an interesting trip. And I think even Brian Weston, your good friend, you grew up with, he came out that weekend, and Ralph Chipano, who've also been on multiple trips with you to the British Isles, and myself as well. And that was a great weekend. Although I think we got rained out, or we played in very sloppy conditions in Santa Barbara, I remember. But so that's how we met. But I think what people really want to know on this podcast is they want to know how the 2 of you met.
2 of us met. Well, it all started when I met my wife in Nashville. We met on a dating site, and if I remember correctly,
this is about to be a lie. I'm telling you in advance. It's about to be a lie.
If I remember correctly, from what my wife tells me, Jeff and Dale both went to Cincinnati. I also went to Cincinnati and played football there. Amanda messaged her dad, Jeff, and said that I may be going on a date this week with Hayden Moore. Do you know him? And of course, well, not of course, but Jess said, yeah, I know him. I'm a football fan. And she said that was the first time that Jeff's been excited about Amanda having a boy in her life. So he'll deny it. He'll deny it, but
yeah, you had an automatic stamp of approval based on the fact that you were Bearcat.
I got a head start for sure.
So I got to correct a couple things. So first of all, the way you guys were the way I introduced Jeff to you, Hayden, by way of text, because back in 2015, when you came in, you were a redshirt freshman. You came into a game against Memphis when Gunnar Keel, who was the starter at the time, you came in and replaced him, and went on to throw for 557 yards, I believe, in that game. So
that's right.
Hats off to you on that. That was and also setting a school record for most passing yards in a game. But I texted Jeff during that game. I said, "Are you watching the UC game against Memphis? Because there's a kid in there, Hayden Moore, and I tell you, this guy is throwing it all over the yard." And that was like in the first half. And you set a record, and you only played, I think you came in with
under 3
minutes and change, in the first quarter. So that was amazing. So, but that's how he first heard the name Hayden Moore. It wasn't from Amanda.
That's a good story too. That's great.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but I did get to see him play when I knew him up in Canada.
That's true.
Yeah, he played when he was with the Tiger Cats in the Canadian Football League. I got to go up. We had I think I went up for 2 games. We had a wonderful time up there.
But you also, before I even knew you, you went to the UCLA game when we played them my last year.
Yeah,
and you and Tina were there, and you didn't even know that I was going to be marrying your daughter that next year. So that was fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Enough about that.
So I think I knew Hayden was going to marry your daughter before you did, Jeff. And I'll tell this story. So the first time I met Hayden was a couple of years ago, and I think it was your first time down to Peachtree City, and you and Jeff were playing golf and asked me if I wanted to join you. And at the time I couldn't play.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had hurt my neck.
That's
and
right.
So we were playing Planterra club local here. And so I said, well, what if I just meet up with you guys on the back 9 and walk the back 9 with you? So we met on the 10th tee, and as we're walking down the fairway, Hayden and I started talking about where he was from and how he met Amanda. And so after I'd asked him how they had met, my second question was going to be, how soon was it before you knew her father went to UC? And so I couldn't even get the full question. I said, so after he told me how they met and everything, I said, so how long was it before you knew? And he looked at me square in the eye and said, immediately. And I said, oh, okay. And after the round was over, I told Jeff, I said, Jeff, I think Hayden has serious designs for your daughter, and wouldn't be surprised if those two are married someday. Sure enough. So
that's right.
When he asked me if he could marry her, I said no.
He gave me a run for the money, but I think it was a plan all along. He has to play hard to get, as the father-in-law, makes him more desirable.
Okay, so now we know the origin story of
okay, so now can we talk
Jeff
about
and
golf?
Hayden?
Yeah, let's talk about some links golf. First thing I want to get into was y'all's first links golf trip and where y'all went. Dale, you can go ahead and start.
Our first trip was to Scotland, and I remember we played the old course at some point, and I think for me the highlight of that trip was actually were a couple highlights. One is I got to golf with Jeff's father a couple of times, a couple of rounds, most notably at Muirfield in Scotland. And they only send out twosomes. So Jeff went out with his friend Brian, and I went out with his dad, Jim. And that was a great experience and a great round. In fact, I took a picture of your father in a bunker, and I remember and that's still, I've got it framed right over on the wall there. It's my favorite picture because it has him in the bunker, has the caddy standing. We both had caddies. He's standing right next to him with the rake, getting ready for
Yeah.
when he exits the bunker to rake it. And it's a great picture. So those are a couple of things that stand out. And then playing over in Prestwick was on the west side of Scotland was a highlight. And quite frankly, playing St. Andrews was a little bit of it wasn't as I couldn't appreciate it, because I think in order to appreciate St. Andrews, you probably got to play some other courses first, and so I would encourage people not to necessarily go for that on your first trip, because I think anybody who does that doesn't really fully appreciate it, nor understand what it's all about. So for me, playing the other courses was probably the highlight, and then going back to St. Andrews on a future trip was then I started to understand. The fourth time I really played the course, it takes that long to really kind of get the quirks and where to hit the ball, and it's unlike any other course you play, but it's probably not the in terms of the full experience of links golf. You probably get that from other courses, and Prestwick being one that I remember is just really was a great course, similar to St. Andrews in terms of they just don't make courses like that anymore.
Yeah.
And then next to it was Troon, and that course was very, very difficult, but fun to play nonetheless.
All right, Dale, thanks for that. Jeff, let's go ahead and talk about your first trip over to the British Isles.
Well, I went 25 years ago. It was my dad's 60th birthday.
Yeah.
And I'd saved for 2 years, and I'd done 2 years of studying, learning everything I could about links golf and the courses over there. And so we actually went to London first for a couple of days. Then we took the train up to Glasgow. And I remember we went the next morning, we got up and I told my dad, we had a guest house that kind of overlooked the golf course. And I said, doesn't look like we're going to be able to play today, Dad. It was raining pretty good, but we went up, got up, had breakfast, walked over to the course, or actually drove around the corner to the course, and put our rain suits on, went in the pro shop, came out. They said, you guys can play even if it's raining. We reluctantly teed off at Prestwick. So that was my first course in a links environment. And it looked like you were on the moon. I literally didn't know where to hit the ball. It was like there was no evident fairway. Now it was a 90-degree angle, right? Because you're kind of in the corner. There's a railway line, and then behind you is the clubhouse. So I didn't have 180 degrees, but I did have 90. And I'm like, I don't know whether to hit it left, center, or right. And I had a driver in my hand, and the caddy takes that out of my hand. He thrusts a 6-iron in my hand, and he points somewhere, and off we went. And midway down the fairway, we took our waterproofs off and never put them back on. But that trip, my dad and I played Prestwick, Turnberry, Troon, Machrihanish, Carnoustie, the Old Course, Muirfield, Royal Dornoch, Cruden Bay.
Not bad.
I mean, it was like
Not a bad lineup.
like a magical mystery tour of golf. And
first one too.
It was, we played Crail down near St. Andrews. It was amazing. And when you think about it, he's passed away now this past couple months ago, but the memories I have from that trip are unbelievable. And it's really the whole reason why we started Royal Links was playing with him. I remember being over there on that first trip, and he said, why aren't you taking more pictures? And I said, because I'm coming back. I mean, I'd fallen in love with links golf. So he and I had just an amazing trip. And then we went back again the following year. and I didn't pay for him that time. But yeah, the trip that Dale's talking about. And then the next time he went was on his 70th birthday. I took him to Ireland, and he and I played the courses around Ireland. So
Yeah, it's really special to be able to, take these trips, and it's even more special when you get to play with your dad, have those memories forever. So that's awesome. Another big part about, British Isles and the culture there is, whiskey. You got Irish whiskey, you got Scotch. I know y'all are a fan of Scotch, and y'all got me in trouble one night, introducing me to Scotch. We talked about it on the former podcast, but Jeff, tell us what your favorite Scotch or Irish whiskey is.
yeah, that's a good question. I prefer the lowland whiskeys in Scotland.
Okay.
I don't like the Isla peaty ones. So I prefer lowland and highland, not Isla. It's too peaty for me. But there are a number of wonderful distilleries. The ones that I like the most are, I would say, Edredour, it was at a time and may still be the smallest distillery in Scotland. It's fantastic. Dale's a huge fan of Glenmorangie, and we've driven by there. We haven't been through that tour. A great one that I went in that's really modern is Macallan. That's a fantastic one. Glenfiddich is great. And
is that the one that you got Dale for Christmas last year? Glenfiddich?
I think so. I don't remember, but yeah.
And
you don't remember.
Somebody gave me a Glenfiddich. I don't remember who it was.
That was the night, yeah. So
yeah.
Well, and then there's a new distillery near St. Andrews called Kingsbarns. It's really nice, and they make a wonderful whiskey.
And we're encouraging all those trips. When we're planning trips for people, that's one of the main tours that we kind of push towards them, is the distilleries and how they're great. So Dale.
Well, the other thing, Hayden, just real quick, if people are too far away from a distillery, we can set up whiskey tastings.
That's right.
We bring the whiskey to your hotel or restaurant, and we put on a whiskey tasting that's really unforgettable as well.
That's a great idea.
Do it before a round, get a little whiskey tasting, and then head out to the course.
Yeah,
that's Dale's MO.
Yeah, that is. We talked about that on Dale's podcast. Dale, tell us what your favorite Scotch or Irish whiskey is.
So I have a little bit more of a discerning palate than Jeff. My taste for whiskey is seasonal. So I like to go with the peaty or Isle whiskeys in the wintertime. So Lagavulin is a great whiskey. It's some consider it one of the best whiskeys, bar none, in Scotland. It's very good. I like Lagavulin. And then, like he said, Glenmorangie is a great, they make some great whiskeys. But then there's always Glen Macallan's great. Balvenie is great. What's Aberlour is a great whiskey.
I love that one too.
Affordable, So a lot of these are like, because like other spirits, you don't want to spend necessarily top dollar all the time. So I like to find like mid-tier pricing, but high quality whiskeys. So those are all whiskeys that kind of price out that way.
What's the one Dick likes so much?
But it's not, he likes Balvenie, Balblair.
Balblair, that's it.
Yeah. And by the way, our friend Dick, he is a savant. Some might say an idiot savant. In a lot of ways, but one of them's with whiskey tasting. I swear to God, the guy has blind tested whiskey and can actually, you put 3 different whiskeys in a paper bag, and he'll taste them and he'll tell you which each one is. It's wild. We'll have him do this like a little bit of a bar trick, but pretty amazing.
Well, I'm a newbie into the whiskey world. I've started my collection a couple years ago, but my favorites from what I've had so far. Nothing from over there, but I do love Basil Hayden's. Not just because Hayden is in the name, because that's the smoothest whiskey that I've tasted. And I also love Gentleman Jack. And I love that because, and this ties into it, I've been to the Jack Daniel's distillery, and I think it brings so much more meaning to tasting. And when you go to Scotland or Ireland and you go to these distilleries, it really makes a difference in your taste buds in a way.
Yeah, well, Bushmills and Jameson in Ireland are excellent distilleries with excellent whiskey. But I think the other thing, there are great, Guinness is something that if you're in Ireland, the Guinness brewery at St. James Gate is something you should miss if you like beer. And I think it's a fantastic tour, and it ends in the highest point in the city with a free pint of Guinness. It's just unbeatable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when you think about golf, a lot of people, they picture a certain hole. If they think about a course, they're thinking about a certain first hole or 18 finishing hole or a par 3. And that really makes you remember your favorite course. When you talk about a favorite course, you say, oh yeah, I love this course because number 3, par 3 is amazing. It's over water. And that really makes a difference. Dale, talk about, when you're thinking about your favorite courses and your favorite holes, which holes stand out to you the most?
Oh, that's a great question. So, I think there's different ways of looking at it in terms of, there's some holes that are just dramatic in terms of the setting and the challenge. And then there's others that just have memories, in terms of how you played them. But I kind of break it down by, par 3s. So let's start with that. Let's talk about par 3. So par 3s in British Isles, probably the most famous, is arguably the postage stamp at Troon, right?
Yeah.
I think it's hole number 8. And the reason why is just because it's this pretty small green surrounded by bunkers. I don't know how many bunkers surround it, Jeff. Maybe there's like a dozen bunkers. And so there's so much pressure because it's only like a wedge or a half wedge to get to the green, but with all that sand around, it's and it's facing out toward the sea, so a lot of times you got a wind coming straight into you. That to me, that's a really memorable hole, when you play it. I think other par 3s, I know the starter at Royal Lytham and St. Anne's, that course starts with the par 3. Very unusual for most golf courses in general, especially over there. I can't think of another course that starts off with a par 3, but that's interesting. And then there's also, the historical reference when I think it was the final round of an Open Championship, and it was who was the golfer, Jeff? His caddy had too many. He was practicing on.
Ian
was that?
Ian Woosnam.
Ian Woosnam, yeah. So he was practicing with he was trying out a different driver on the at the range, and so instead of getting rid of one of them, the caddy accidentally put both back in the bag. So he had 15 clubs, which is illegal, and found out after they got to the second hole, which is a par 4, and he pulled out a driver and he looked and saw he had 2 drivers, and so. Yeah, there was a little bit of a meltdown there, but those 2 par 3s. What about for you, Jeff? What par 3s come to mind over in Scotland, or Ireland, or anywhere, Wales or England?
Well, at Lahinch, there's the Dell.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful par 3 over a mountain.
Yeah,
it's a gorgeous par 3. I love that one. There's a blind par 3 at Prestwick.
Yeah.
Right. It's called Himalayas.
Yeah.
And then you've got, I love that one. And then, St. Andrews, the 11th at St. Andrews is a very difficult par 3.
The Eden hole.
Yeah. That's where Bobby Jones tore up his scorecard in disgust because he couldn't get out of a bunker in his first appearance over there. But the other ones that I like too, I've got some unusual ones, I think. The 17th at Castle Course is a magnificent par 3 over the Big Cove, Dale. Right? I mean, that's a wonderful par 3.
Yeah.
I love the par 3. I think it's the 7th at Hopeman, which is the course right next to the course that I'm a member at up in near Elgin, and that's a fantastic par three. You're about 150 feet above the surface of the green, and it's probably 150 yards out, so you can hit like a 130-yard club, and it just drops down. And the day we were there were dolphins in the cove, and it was just gorgeous. That was so there are a lot of holes like that a lot of people haven't heard of, but
Yep.
I love those par threes.
What about a couple signature first holes? First tee boxes. Isn't there one that kind of goes over the ocean?
Well, first of all, Kings, the starting hole at the old course at St. Andrews is magnificent and nerve-wracking, because you're thinking every great golfer who's ever played is played here. Every great professional.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not that difficult of a hole, but you're never going to shake more than you will there. I think other great starting holes for me, Machrihanish, as I think the best opening hole in golf, and I think a lot of people would say that, but it's a dog leg left, and you literally have to hit your ball out over the ocean, and the wind drops it back in the fairway. That is a fun golf shot. So I love that. I love that hole. Other great starting holes. Wow. Well, those are two that come to my mind. Go ahead.
I've got one, Royal Porthcawl in Wales.
Yeah.
And first hole there is great because it's hard against the ocean, and the ocean runs along the left side, and it kind of doglegs and hugs right along the shoreline. And I had the distinction when we played there of being able to, I birdied that first hole. And what was funny is they couple years after we were there, Wales did this really huge PR campaign about come to Wales, play golf in Wales, and they showed that first hole. And I would tell people, because a couple of times where I had people over, were watching a golf tournament or something, I said, hey, I birdied that hole en route to a 101. Was not the best. Good start, horrible 17 remaining holes.
By the way, Dale, I spoke to a guy today over in the UK who's a member at both Southport and Ainsdale and Hillside.
Wow.
God
bless him.
Not bad.
Isn't that amazing? But in terms of other great starting holes, I got another one. I love the opening hole at Royal Dornoch. And it's not so much because, again, I don't think it's that difficult, but the green is amazing. Dale, if you think about it, in the back left corner of that green, there's like a big sunken hole. It's like a crater from a bomb that's left there. And they'll put the pin back there. That's a very cool hole. And then the other one, the most recent one that I played that I think is great, is the opening hole at Dumbarnie, the new course just outside St. Andrews.
Yeah.
It's a magnificent starting hole, downhill, long par 4. And from that vista, from an elevated tee, you can see parts of the course. And once you get halfway down that fairway, the rest of the course disappears because you're ensconced in dunes, and you don't see another hole for the rest of the, you can't see another hole from any fairway for the rest of the walk. It's just, that's an amazing starting hole.
Well, we're talking about our favorite holes. Let's talk about our favorite 19th hole and maybe some good memories from those. Dale, you want to start?
Go ahead, Dale.
So could the 19th hole be before the round, or?
Well, 19 would insinuate that it's
because I like when I read a book, I like to start with the ending and then work my way back. I think Duke's has a great pub, and we talked about.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
Wow, there's Jeff frequents those places more than I do. I usually I'm a trunk slammer. I just throw my clubs back in the rental and drive off, but Jeff likes to stick around and commiserate.
Well, I'll give you a couple that stand out for me. Everyone knows the Dunvegan in St. Andrews is fantastic. And there's a new bar in the Russax Hotel called the One Under, and it's under the hotel, and it looks right out at the golf course. So you can sit in, they've got a patio and or inside the bar with windows, and you can see the old course from there. The Jigger Inn is right there. That's a great spot for a 19th hole. The other ones that I like Old Head. It sits up on this promontory point, and looks out at the golf course, and the weather's not always great there. That's a wonderful 19th hole.
Hey, Jeff, not to interrupt, but speaking of promontory and great views, what about Murray? I mean, that's fantastic. That's a great place to not only have a drink inside, but then walk out on the veranda and you overlook the first tee and the 18th hole and green, and it's fabulous. And the water and the light and the lighthouse and way in the background.
That's a good call. What's interesting, I think, Hayden, about your question is that the 19th holes over there are mostly fantastic. When you get into a clubhouse and well, Dale, how about the lunch at Royal St. George's or the lunch at Muirfield? I mean, because you go in there, Hayden, and it's like, go ahead, Dale, I'll let you.
No, I mean, they're unbelievable. The spread they have and everything is the finest. I mean, down to the, what they serve you, and the cutlery and everything is just, I mean, just start with that. And then they bring, different courses. You've got the soup course, you've got the cheese, which is usually at the end. You've got the lunch. I mean, it's amazing. And everything is just, you want to eat a little bit of everything. You walk out of there, you're just stuffed. But yeah, those are fantastic.
I've got one. I've got my favorite spot.
Okay.
The RNA. Bam. I like repairing to the RNA for a cocktail after my round.
That's hard to tell. You got it, Jeff.
That's the best place for a drink.
Kudos.
That's some pretty good and bad experiences at these 19th holes. Any bad experiences?
Well, no.
That doesn't
really.
sound like.
Well, I just want to, before I answer that, I mean, the best thing about going to the 18th hole is, think about it. You just played 18 holes, and it could be a tough day out there. It could be really windy, or it could be just beautiful, sunny and calm. But when you're done, I mean, you come in there and you just feel fantastic. You're tired from walking 18 holes, but you've got that sea air that you've been breathing all day long, and just it's no matter what the score is or whatever, however you ended up in whatever competition that day, you walk in there and you just feel like $100, and then just having being able to relax and have a drink afterward, just kind of the capper. But I've never had any bad experiences after. It's all good, what I can remember.
Hard to have a bad experience, sounds like.
Yeah.
I got you. Well, talking about experiences, each of you give me your best experience as a trip. So which trip did you have the best experience on? Jeff, go ahead and start.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've taken a lot of people over there. I've never had a single person get home. And Dale, correct me if I'm wrong, the people that you've known that have said, yeah, that wasn't any good. We didn't have any fun.
Yeah, never.
For me, my biggest joy is taking people and kind of standing back and just letting them experience it. So Dale's been with me on a number of times where we've done this. I sneak into St. Andrews kind of in a back way, and I go into the parking lot of the Old Course Hotel. And then we park and we kind of walk down, and they're kind of getting the sense that we're in St. Andrews, but it's kind of hidden. And then we get on the road, but which is for the road hole, and they realize where they're at. And if there's nobody playing or there's a gap, we walk up and they look at the green and look at the road hole bunker, and then we go up and get our picture taken on the Swilken Bridge. You know, that may be the best experience for me, is exposing people to, you know, the home of golf and that view. You know, there's nothing like it. That's a tremendous experience. But I think, you know, for each person, it's different. You know, Dale and I have been to a number of Open Championships. The first one we went to was at Muirfield. That was just an amazing day. He talked about it on his podcast. I went without him to the Open, the last Open at St. Andrews, which was phenomenal. I think that may be the best sporting event I've ever been to, being at, you know, an Open Championship at St. Andrews. My best golf experience is shooting a 77 at the Old Course.
That wasn't the question, Jeff. That wasn't the
My
question.
best experience.
How was your golf
Listen.
experience last week at Lake Hills Country Golf Club?
Thank
That
you.
wasn't a links course. I refuse to answer that question.
We're not. We're just talking about golf experience. Didn't me and Dale beat you in Wolf last? Was it Sunday? Saturday? I guess we're not talking about golf experiences anymore.
I lost by an inch.
I wasn't supposed to bring that up.
I'll give you real quick. My favorite trip that I went on, well, listen, it's hard to say favorite, but one of the most memorable, just in terms of the quality of the golf, right, would have to be, and what stands out, each round stands out, would have to be the Wales and England tour. Because we started in Wales, and I remember I think maybe the first round we played was Penard.
Yeah.
And that course is wild. There's castle ruins on it. You've got wild horses running around the course as you're playing it. It's probably one of the most primal types of settings for golf you'll ever experience, but great golf nonetheless. And then Aberdyfi, right, where there's cows on the golf course. A lot of livestock in Wales, apparently.
Hey, and by the way, you misspoke. The first course we played was Pyle and Kenfig.
Oh, yeah.
Which has an amazing back nine, spectacular back nine.
Yeah.
But the reason I remember this, Hayden, is my very first swing on the first tee at Pyle and Kenfig, our first round over there. When you travel with a big golf bag, it gets jostled around. So I take the swing with my driver, and the head pops off. The shaft had been compromised. So I had to, for whatever reason, I didn't buy another driver. So I played the rest of the 10 days or whatever with a 3-wood. And we had a prize that year for best low score for the week net. I won best low net without a driver, which proved to me I was playing with a bunch of knuckleheads who didn't need to be playing with driver. I won a couple $100 without a driver.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, sometimes you just got to put the driver in the bag. So I guess that kind of helps you out, maybe.
You know what he's going to get? He's going to get a trophy from Hillside.
So Jeff, you're talking about knuckleheads. So you may have won low net for the week without a driver, but this is what the champion, 2003 champion, baby. So yeah, that was awesome. That was a great trip. And then in England, and I mentioned this before, Hayden, is just all of the courses that you have in the Southport area, right? Liverpool, Southport, you got Royal Liverpool, Hoylake. I'm sorry, not yeah, and then you've got Royal Birkdale, Hillside, Southport, and Ainsdale, and they're all just situated right there on the northwest coast. That's fantastic golf, and that's why that trips kind of sticks out in my mind, is because we played a lot of different varied courses. It's not where most people would think, certainly not Americans would think, to go play golf, but you won't get a better golf experience than playing there. And Ireland's fantastic too, in terms of just I think you'll run into some courses that are just fantastic, and take links golf to another level. So it's not always a tried and true, it's not always the most historic courses to play. It's some of the more, I guess, lesser traveled areas of the British Isles where you can get the best golf experience.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hayden, you asked a moment ago about like worst experience in a pub, and we've had some bad experiences in pubs. Let me assure you, we just can't talk about them in public. But for me, what Dale's talking about is finding these diamonds in the rough, right? Like finding a Murray or a Rossapena or a Cairn or a Connemara or Princes or St. Ennedoc. These are courses that are most of the people listening to this have never heard of. And the worst experience I've ever had, and Dale, I know you'll agree with this, or you'll remember it, Ballyliffin.
Oh.
Ballyliffin, where this bus pulls up and all these Americans pile off.
Yeah.
Right. And you hear all these harsh American accents in this beautiful country. Where's the carts? Where's the golf carts? And you're like, oh man, these are people who don't have any appreciation. But the point was that we try to take our guests to places where there aren't busloads of people. Right. We want you to play. If you're in Ireland, we want you to play Royal County Down, but we also want you to play Rossapena and Cairn and Dukes and these lesser known places that are, just spectacular courses, but also have a great footprint in the history of golf. And so the worst experience I have is seeing a busload of Americans pull up at a massive course. And and we're typically smaller groups. We're 4s and 8s typically. And our trips are much more intimate, and we try to avoid the bus loads.
Yeah, Andrew Cook was talking about last week that one thing he'd tell Americans is to find that course that's more of a members course and a better feel. That was his preference for sure. With experiences, something that can really change your experience at a championship course is caddies. What's your preference on caddies? What would you recommend for people going over there for the first time, when they should take a caddy and when they shouldn't?
Personally, I don't recommend them. I don't like caddies. I don't think they're funny. I don't think they're helpful, and I think they're expensive.
Underrated.
Yeah. Now, Dale and I would agree, I'm sure, some of our best experiences are with caddies. I mean, you've got a local person you're hanging out with for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And you're talking, hey, where's a great restaurant around here? Where do your kids go to school? What do you do outside of here? It's distracting enough that if you're playing a competitive round, it takes your mind off the round. And they're invaluable at reading greens, finding golf balls, telling jokes. I
agree with all that.
It's spectacular. I couldn't. Now, by the way, I'm going to let Dale talk here in a moment, but my recommendation is that if you're playing a championship course, like a Prestwick or a Troon or Royal County Down or Royal Porthcawl or Royal St. George's, take a caddy. But if you're playing Murray or Tane or, these member courses, don't take a caddy. They sell these little guides in there for £4 or £5. pick out a trolley, push your cart,
Yeah.
you know. So Dale, what are your thoughts on the caddy?
Still that they're overrated. No, I love the caddies. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, anytime you can get a caddy, I would definitely have one. I think for all the reasons Jeff stated, they're well worth many times over what you would
Yeah,
end up paying.
they're typically about $100.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
Why these two are making fun of caddies and they're pointing fun
'Cause they
at
make-
me.
No, we're not poking fun at you. Seriously. we're not.
No. They make Hayden, they make fun of us. I mean, that's the best thing about a caddy is they will cut you down to size right away. And believe
Yeah.
me, they've dealt with
Oh.
much bigger egos than Jeff or I when they come in there. So they're equipped to really, hand it to you.
Yeah,
And-
listen to this, Hayden. This is a true story. We were playing at St. Andrews. Dale took his dad, which was a fantastic trip. CJ, we love hanging out with CJ. CJ was probably 70 at the time. Dale was probably 50 at the time. Or maybe CJ was even older than that.
Was it like 20 years ago?
He was 68, and actually, let me tell the story, Jeff. So it wasn't St. Andrews, it was Royal Dornoch, and he was hitting the ball like unbelievably the entire week, and I remember we were on the back nine, and he hit another 250-yard drive, which for a 68-year-old man is fantastic. And I told his caddy, I said, can you believe he's CJ's 68 years old? I hope I can hit the ball that far when I'm 68. And he looked at me and he said, you should start trying to hit the ball that far today. Like, yeah, that's probably good. So, I mean, a lot of things like that. Like I remember John Blair after he, had shot on his way to 110 or something score. I can't remember what course it was. And
Muirfield.
With Muirfield, and after the round was over, he paid the caddy and he said,
What do I owe you?
What do I owe you? And the caddy said, well, you can start with an apology. and then he paid him, and the caddy looked at it and he goes, this won't do, sir.
Yeah, he handed the money back to the caddy. I'm afraid that won't do, sir.
Oh, wow.
So there's tons of stories like that, but the caddies are worth their weight in gold. And
The other one, you remember, I think it may have been Brian, no, it was Brian Weston's caddy when we were playing with Howard at Prestwick. And Howard is left-handed and he hits a slice, and he was losing his ball all day. He couldn't judge how far it went. He'd be off by 30 yards. He'd be looking too far up or too far back. Brian's caddy was getting tired of looking, and Brian, we're in knee-deep grass looking for Howard's ball, and Brian says to his caddy, he goes, Howard is a world-class sailor. He circumnavigated the globe, in a sailboat all by himself. And the guy looks at Brian and goes, must not be that hard. The guy can't find a golf ball, but he can, find his way around the globe in a sailboat. Yeah, those are amazing memories.
The caddies, they teach you lessons, and they make fun of you as well. Let's take a change of pace here. Jeff, we'll start with you. What kind of life lessons has golf taught you?
Well, I'll tell you this. I think through golf, and golf is a gentle person's game, right? You have etiquette. Recently I was playing golf, and I raked my way out of a bunker, and a homeowner near there came out and started clapping, and I'm like, I didn't hit a very good shot, ma'am. And she goes, I know, I'm clapping because you raked the trap. Most people don't do that, right? Yeah. Holy cow. But it teaches us valuable lessons about etiquette and how we treat people. And while Dale and I have a lot of fun on the course, and like you saw over this past weekend, we joke around a lot and make fun of one another. It's also brought he and I and a number of my friends closer together because of golf. and the travels that we've had together. It's, he and I, we've been over there 9 times together. I mean, I've got memories of him on every time we played together. Meals that we shared, like stealing meatballs, and not telling someone we're stealing their meatballs. And I mean, just caddy stories and bad golf and great golf and dads. And it's just it's been an amazing 25 years that he and I have been going over there.
When I've been caddying the past couple months at this course down here, and a lot of the people say that, walking a golf course really makes you slow down and appreciate what you're doing. And I think, most of Links Golf over there, there's no golf carts, and you need to walk the course. And I think that being able to do that really makes you slow down and enjoy yourself and enjoy what you're doing with your friends, makes you just kind of think about life.
I would say it's much more intentional when you're walking your golf, right? You just, you kind of, you take it all in. Everything seems to be well paced, and it's a much better way to play, especially over there. So, and I agree with everything that Jeff just said about the golf experiences.
All right, Dale, a couple questions for the people out there who have not been over to the British Isles and are thinking about taking a first trip. What made you pull the trigger on your first trip?
Well, I've been a fan of Links Golf just from watching the Open Championship on TV, and always wondered, what would it be like to go over there and actually play that type of golf that you can't play here in the States. And so that really piqued my interest. And then after talking to Jeff, after he'd gone on his first trip, because I went with him on a second trip over there, and just how, excited he was about getting back and going again, and telling me, recounting all the great experiences he and his father had playing Links Golf over there. It just, I really made the decision on a whim. And back then there wasn't a lot of, information on traveling over to the British Isles to play Links Golf. And so I relied a lot on Jeff. But, now, today with Royal Links Golf Tours, and I think I just want to commend you guys on the website you've developed. Being a professional marketer, looking at that website, I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic and chock full of information on different trips, itineraries you can do, what to pack, the different areas to travel to, the courses, sample itineraries. I mean, it's just fantastic. If I would have had that before my first trip, it wouldn't have changed my decision. It would have still been to go right away, but I would have been able to do a lot of pre-work and kind of educating myself on what I was about to experience. And you guys have done a masterful job of laying that all out so people can easily go in and consume that information before they travel. So
I'll go ahead and plug in that unpaid advertisement. Jason Hunter Design is who we use, as a good friend of ours. And they got us all set up, got all the website together. It took us, I think, 2 months to really get everything in there. We've got course descriptions. We've got information on trips that you can see, and you can actually see out where we would take you each day. We've got hotels that you can look at, Airbnbs you can look at. It really, we like to plan and like scope out everything about your trip, so you can do a little bit of research before, and about the courses. You can figure out which courses you want to go to, which country you want to go to. So that's a good take.
And the testimonials on there are great. And the fact that, somebody can pick up the phone and talk to you or Jeff and really, get a good idea of what's in store and what their options are. So that's an invaluable service. And I think it's going to serve not only you well, but I think your patrons well as they take advantage of that. So
yeah, I think that's one of the main things that's going to make us stand out, is we take the time. We want to get you on a Zoom call. We want to take you through the trip. We want to see where your brain's at, what we can change, what you want to keep on there, what courses you want us to change, the types of courses, types of places to stay. I think being able to talk on a Zoom call and really figure those things out can really change somebody's experience. So
Totally agree.
next question, for the people out there who are hesitant on booking their first trip, what advice would you give them?
Don't be hesitant. I think the saying goes, "He who hesitates is lost." Is lost. That's what my stepfather CJ always used to tell me, and it couldn't apply better here. I mean, just think if I would have hesitated on that first trip and never went, and then I probably likely would have gone, the following year, and then I would have had, there would have always been an excuse. There's always, something that doesn't make it the perfect time to travel, and you really have to buy in and say, I want to do this. It's something that's going to be a great experience, and if you can get other people to go with you, friends, family, I think that makes it even more special. And plus, then you're really committed because now somebody else is doing it with you. So I think don't hesitate. My gosh, we're getting through a worldwide pandemic right now. There's no sense, if we've learned anything coming out of this, it's that don't put the important things off in life. And I think like Jeff said earlier, nobody has ever come back to him and said, man, that was like, I wish I would have not gone. I could have done something different. They're all about, that was the best trip ever, and I can't wait to go again.
I think we could take a survey and we could take 100 people who have gone on a trip, get them back. I think 100 out of 100 would say it was worth it.
100%. I agree with that.
Yeah. I haven't taken my first trip, and I want to say now that I am more excited getting into this business and doing all the research and creating that love for links golf. I've always watched the golf on television, and I'm young, so I've got some years to pull that trigger. Yeah. But being able to see, Tiger Woods play at the old course, and and having the opportunity to go and play there is just amazing. And I think that you need to do that earlier than later. And I say that because you do it now, you get to experience the rest of your life, and you're not going to wait for this amazing trip. I hope that people out there who are kind of new to the scene, new to links golf, and kind of wrapping their minds around actually being able to take a trip like this. It's very doable, and I think you should do it sooner than later.
Well, what's exciting, and I live on the golf course here in Peachtree City, so I see I've since the beginning of the pandemic, and we had the shutdown and everything, and then all of a sudden people were looking for activities they could do outside, and what better activity than golf? So I saw a lot of people go past my house that you could tell that they hadn't played a lot of golf before, but they were having a great time. They borrowed somebody's clubs or dug clubs out of the attic, and we were out there playing. And I think it's just fantastic for golf. I think golf is really experiencing a renaissance, and I think for those of you that are newer to golf, don't feel like you've got to wait to get accomplished to go on one of these trips. You can go over and have a great time. Typically you don't play, you can play, and that's the great thing about golf is you can play whichever tees suit you, and take it easy on yourself and go experience something totally different. You think you like golf here, and it's a great game. Just think how much fun you'll have over there in British Isles. It's a great thing and something you will never regret doing.
As well said. Thank you, Dale Schmitz, for coming on again. It was a great hour I think we had with you, and Jeff, and some great stories. Appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to having you on again in the future.
Yeah, my pleasure, Hayden, anytime. And listen, you're doing a great job, and you and Jeff are doing a fantastic job at Royal Links, so appreciate it. Sure. Have a great evening.
Thank you. See ya.
All right, take care. Bye.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of Travel Royally Podcast.
For those of you who have never been to the British Isles for a golf trip, including myself, I hope that the information that these two guys gave today really gives you some great insight on links golf, and hopefully gives you some motivation to getting out there and booking your first trip. If you are looking to get some information on booking a trip, you know who to go to, Royal Links Golf Tours. You can go to royallinksgolftours.com. You can look at course descriptions. You can look at tours that we have on there. If you want to get on a call with us, fill out that vacation customization form. We'll get it sent to us. We will set up a call with you, and we'll go through exactly what you want to do, exactly which courses you want to go to, which country. And if you want us to customize it completely, Jeff has the most experience in that. He will be able to set you up with the most amazing golf courses, amazing hotels. And if you want to go to a place and play some members courses, some diamond in the roughs, some Airbnbs that are on the ocean, some hotels that are on the ocean, he'll set you up with those as well. We'll customize it exactly to what you want to do. I want to thank you all for tuning in again. If you are viewing on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on the podcast, hit the follow button. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.